Hey there folks, welcome on back to the RLCS Midwest Minute. We got some more headlines for you, real quick ones, courtesy of the Bot Pops over on the Twitter. Put it right up there for you again, and let's get to them real quick. Okay, so starting off over in SSA Region, Limitless once again defending their own region against all those EU teams that decide to come on in and play. They once again beat Young Money Clan 4-1 in the grand finals. Now, my mistake, I said they were American, they are actually English folks, so sorry to you there. So moving on though, we got Gaming Gladiators get their first win in the APAC region, taking down Elevate and 4 in semifinals, and then beating LA Signal in the grand finals 4-1. So great showing from them, great bounce back, and we'll see how they do in the third regional, and we'll see which team actually makes it to that LAN event for APAC. So let's get these headlines moving real quick once. Power, they went back-to-back in OCE, only losing one game the entire event. They completely swept through the entire playoff bracket, and they only lost one game in the Swiss stage. Now, if that's not a dominant showing from Power, I don't know what is. So great showing from them. We'll see how they do in Regional 3. Let's keep these headlines moving real quick once. So Falcons, they also went back-to-back in the MENA region, taking down Rule 1 in Game 7 of Grand Final. So that one was a lot closer than in Power in the OCE region, but Falcons still went back-to-back, same as Power, so great showing from them. We'll see how they do in Regional number 3, and they are confirmed for the LAN event taking place in Copenhagen. So let's keep these headlines moving real quick once, shall we? Okay, so Ferra, they beat Complexity in semifinals and Ninjas in Pajamas in the grand finals, taking them down both 4-1. So Ferra came back. They beat out Complexity in that second showing. So currently 1-1 between those two teams there in the SAM region. But as we might see here in these coming regional events and LAN events, those two teams will probably be facing a lot now. So let's keep these headlines moving real quick once, shall we? Heading on over to the NA region, regional number 2. M80, once again, they trioed in the Swiss stage, but they lost in the quarters once again. Come on, M80. You got to keep her moving in them playoff brackets. You can't be called Swiss merchants. That's not a good showing for you now. So, either way, let's just keep these moving. OG, they had a great top 4 run, bouncing back after that first regional getting swept out. They actually reverse swept the Swiss stage, and then they took down M80 in the quarterfinals. So, I mean, OG, a great comeback from them. We'll have to see how they do Regional 3. A lot of teams still wide open to make that Copenhagen LAN event for NA. We'll see what teams make it in. Now, keeping these headlines moving real quick once. G2 took down Gen G in the semifinals. Another showing from those two teams facing off, but this time in semis instead of grand finals, and G2 got the better of them once again. And Luminosity had a great showing, making the finals for the first time before once again being beaten by G2, who went back-to-back in NA and basically cement themselves as one of the best teams in the world. They could be very competitive if they were in the EU region, but they went back-to-back quite handily in NA. Let's keep these headlines moving real quick once. Let's head over to the EU regional number 2 now, shall we? Okay, so first one up that we got, Moist. They didn't make Regional 2. Somebody help Joyo over there on Moist. Come on now. He can't carry that team enough. Not enough to make the regionals anyways, so maybe if Joyo got some help over there, that team could be one of the most dominant in EU. But let's keep these headlines moving real quick once anyways. SSA look to be one of the best teams over in EU, or if not the best, at least one of the best at taking down the best in EU. They beat KC in quals, sending them down to the lower bracket. And they beat Vitality in Swiss stage. I mean, come on now. If that's not a great showing from SSA, I don't know what is. Okay, let's keep these headlines moving real quick once. Oxygen, They beat Gentlemates in Swiss stage, having a great bounce back performance after regional number 1. Oxygen and Magnifico both had great top 4 performances, and after Oxygen missed out on top 8 in that first one, that's a great bounce back from them, proving that they're still one of the best teams over in EU. They just didn't have it entirely together for that first regional. So they'll be one of the teams competing over there, hoping to make that major. And KC, they swept through Vitality in the quarterfinals. Vitality, what's happening? You lost out in semifinals last regional, and now you're losing out in quarterfinals this regional. Now it's a little bit of an unfortunate matchup for them, but you gotta win the games in the Swiss stage if you want to make that good playoff run. Now they lost to KC, and they lost to in the Swiss stage, and they had to go to get that 5th round game in Swiss stage to even try and make the playoffs. So matching up against KC, that was just unfortunate for Vitality, having to drop down to that basically last seeded spot for them. But you got to win the games when you can, and they just didn't do that. And so Vitality is falling off a little bit, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, well, let's keep these moving real quick ones. K-Corp, they beat BDS in a Game 7 overtime thriller of a match to become back-to-back regional champs in EU. Now, you could say that is a lot harder to do than in some of these other regions, but KC, they did it anyways. They're back-to-back champs, and with that, Ferra has now won his 7th straight RLCS event as a coach. Now, he won 5 of those with Vitality, and now he's done 2 with Carmine Corps. So, I mean, the real difference maker, it appears to me at least, is Ferra. He is the difference maker. You have him on your team as your coach, you're going to be winning games. Just plain and simple as that. That's what we've seen happen, and that's probably what we will see continue to happen until we're proven otherwise. Ferra is one of the best coaches in the RLCS game right now. All right, let's keep these moving real quick. Once we'll now head over to the MENA qual number 3. ROC, they beat Rule 1 in the MENA quals to become the youngest team ever to qualify for RLCS. Now, Rule 1, they just dropped down to the lower bracket, but they still made their way through, so they're still in Regional 1. But because they dropped down to that lower bracket, they have to face Team Falcons in round 1 of the Swiss stage. Now, we've seen them go face-to-face, toe-to-toe in the grand finals a couple times, but now having to face round 1 of Swiss, this is a whole different game now. We could see Rule 1 finally get the better of Team Falcons. We'll see what happens there over this upcoming weekend. And one final headline for you guys here. Over to the NA Regional. Now, I'll just put a little footnote. Delete XD, a team that made the Regional 2 times in a row. They did not make the 3rd one, so unfortunate from them, but you got to win those matchups. But Squishy Muffins, he qualified for his final ever regional before heading off to retirement. Now, Squishy Muffins, for those of you who know, you know. For those of you who don't, I'm surprised. But Squishy has been one of the most influential players in Rocket League. He inspired a whole crap ton of people to play Rocket League. And if he did not, then we wouldn't have some of the players that are the best of the best to this day in these regionals competing in RLCS if he did not. He's had some amazing showings in RLCS. That RLCS Season 6 lower bracket run in the Worlds to not only make the grand finals, but to also win the grand finals through the lower bracket. Now, that was just amazing stuff. And also, he had that first ever ceiling shot in an RLCS playoffs. I believe it was at a Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me on that in the comments if you want, but he had the ceiling shot. He made the ever so touted squishy save where you go up into the back of the net and you just come flying out and you make the save, the squishy save. Now, those are just a couple of the things he's done, but he has been one of the most influential players in Rocket League, in my opinion at least. And it'll be sad to see him go, but if for those of you who didn't see, he'll still be a content creator for Rule 1, so we'll still see him in the community quite a bit, but just not as an RLCS competitor anymore. So happy retirement, Squishy, and we'll hope to see you in the future at some point. Maybe if not on the desk at some point, just talking about some of these players, but just in the RL scene. We'll miss ya, but have a good retirement. Oh, sorry, let me cut you off there, me. Sorry about that, but one last thing I forgot to say. This is what the current showings for the RL land over there in Copenhagen is looking like for now. Those are the teams that are confirmed, and there's still a lot more teams that are competing to try and get that spot. So be on the lookout for this upcoming weekend and next weekend in EU and NA and a couple other regions too that still have teams that have to confirm their spot. There's still a lot of close teams, and even one more game win or loss could mean the entire difference for making major or not. So just be on the lookout for those. And well, thanks for stopping on by. Tell your folks I says hi. Make sure to watch out for deer and always keep her moving.